and the export feature all work together to allow us to access information in other files on different desktops, whether they be database or spreadsheet files, making it easy to import relevant information into the current file. Although this may seem rather complicated, I hope we can simplify it for you by taking you step by step through the process of creating a sample file doing all of these functions. Let's take a look at something I've set up. We have a file called test containing the word state and nickname as two categories. What we're going to do is access another file called sports, which contains an abbreviation for a state, the state full name, and the nickname of a state football team. Returning to our test file, we move into the nickname category. This is what we're going to import, so we need to put the cursor on that category and then press Apple O in order to define options. What we want to do is modify rules, so we press return and we select the import. Pressing return on that, we're prompted for the file, and as mentioned earlier, we'd like to take a look at the sports file. When we select that, AppleWorks attempts to guess which categories we wanted to use. Let's take a look at what it chose. AppleWorks thought that we would want to find a match for the category state in the test file. That is correct. It matches that up in item number 2 with the abbreviation category of sports, and then imports from the state file in sports. However, we did not want to import from the state category, but rather we wish to import the nickname, so let's select that category now. Selecting from the list of categories, we move down to nickname, and the definition now says that we will import from the nickname category in the sports file. Let's return to our file, and you see now at the bottom the word import, showing that this category, nickname, has been designated as an import category. Moving back to state, we can type in a state abbreviation, such as CO. Pressing return, you see that AppleWorks immediately imports the word Buffs, which is the nickname of the Colorado Buffaloes football team. Okay, now what if we have a state in which we have difficulty remembering the code? There are many states which begin with the letter M, and sometimes it can be confusing as to which one contains which abbreviation. We can use Glossary to simplify this. Press Apple O on the category state, modify rules, and this time select the Glossary definition. When we choose Glossary, we're again asked to choose a Glossary file, and let's choose sports. This time it says that Glossary will list the category abbreviation. Well, we don't want it to list abbreviation. We want it to list the full name so that we can see what the name is, so we select state. Now the result is where we want to get the abbreviation, so highlight result, press return, and select abbreviation. Reviewing, we've now defined a Glossary file which will list all occurrences in the category state, allowing us to make a choice. When we make that choice, the result will be returned from the abbreviation category. Let's return to the file now. We're not sure what we want, so we press Open Apple G, which is the Glossary command. A pop-up list shows us various states in the full, easy-to-recognize names. Cursoring down to Michigan, we can press return, and you see that the Glossary, instead of entering the word Michigan under state, selected the 2-character code, which was appropriate, and which also triggered the import, bringing us the nickname Spartans, which is actually Michigan State. Now, let's say that we have that information, and we would like to import even more information from a spreadsheet file. Let's move over to another category and give it a name, and we'll call this SS Info, standing for spreadsheet information. This is going to be an import from a spreadsheet file, which I earlier defined. Moving to the spreadsheet file, we see Buffs and Spartans, and the last year they were involved in a major football championship. The Buffs 1991, the Spartans 1965. Moving back to our test file, we have the cursor on SS Info. Again, we need to repeat the process for the import and make a definition for it. Pressing Apple O, we again modify rules. Always the first step. Then we select Import. Press Return. This time on Import File, we will choose SS File, which is our spreadsheet. Pressing Return in the spreadsheet, we see that it has again made a guess as to what we want to do. Find a match for state category in the file test. This is not correct. We actually want to match up the nickname, so let's press Return and define a new category. Categories pop up, and we can select the second one, which is nickname. Nickname will be matched with column A, which is correct, and imported from column B, which is also correct. That's all we need to define. So, pressing escape, we return. Now we go back and redo our glossary. Let's select Colorado this time. Press return on Colorado. Press in Open Apple K to cause the database to recalc. Brings in the missing information. You now see that based on the state of Colorado, we've imported nickname and SS info, which happens to be the last championship year. So now what we've accomplished in this database file so far is that we've defined an import category in which we've imported database information for the team nickname. We've also defined another import category in which we've extracted the last championship year from a spreadsheet file. Keep in mind that these files do not need to be on the same desktop. In fact, we could have one file on each desktop and AppleWorks would import equally well no matter where the file is found. Another thing we've accomplished already is we've defined a glossary allowing us to avoid memorizing the 2-character codes for the states and instead letting us pick the name from a fully written out name which is easier to read and does not require memorization. Now what we'd like to do is also show some export capability. So let's move ahead and define an export category which will take information from our current test file and post it back to another file on the desktop. Now that we've demonstrated both the glossary and the import capabilities, let's take a look at what exporting can do. Switching the desktops, we find a championship file that contains the names of the 2 states that we've been dealing with and a space for the championship year. What we're going to do is have this information automatically posted onto this other file in yet another desktop. Switching back to desktop number 1 and our test file, we now need to define an export category which will give AppleWorks the information it needs to post data into the other file on the other desktop. Pressing Apple O and selecting Modify Rules, we can move to the Export rule and choose the file which we're targeting. Selecting champions, we see it says find a match for state in test, state being the category name in square brackets. We're matching that in the champions file with state also, but we're not exporting the nickname. What we're exporting is the year of the last championship. So we need to press return with export highlighted. This gives us a list of categories and we move down to the spreadsheet information, which was the year of the last championship. That will be exported to the championship category. This is correct. We also have the option in item 6 to mark after exporting. What this feature does is allow us to keep a record of whether the current information has been posted to another file or not. Pressing return tells it to mark the category. Press escape twice and we are back in the export category. Now that our export definition is complete, I'm going to move to the state category and simply type in the CO again in order to accomplish the export. When I press return, you see in the far category the word posted appearing, which indicates that the information was posted to the other file. Pressing Open Apple Q and changing desktops, we select champions and we see here next to Colorado, 1991 was indeed posted, showing that information can easily be posted to another file on the desktop from within a database. Another exciting database feature in AppleWorks 4.0 is the word processor window. This allows us to view word processor information without actually leaving the current database file. For example, I have on the desktop a file named sample. A corresponding word processor file called h.sample is on the desktop as well. h.sample is simply an abbreviation for help. This is our help file for the database sample file. Let me show you how it works.